when you're part of something good and you believe it in your soul and pass it on to others, it's just something that takes off like wildfire.
Welcome to another episode of Friday 5 with Dave Adams. Today I'm going to be speaking with Vickie Schmitzer, CEO of Frankenmuth Credit Union. I know it's going to be a great conversation. We're going to focus on culture and employee climate. How do you build and enhance a culture that attracts and retains the top talent? Now, Vickie Schmitzer has quite a story. I had to do a double take on this because she must have started at the credit union at a very, very young age, because she's been with the credit union, Frankenmuth, for 41 years, since 1979. She started when there were 3 employees at the credit union. And while she's worked there in management and as CEO since 2003, the credit union now has over 340 employees and is approaching $1 billion in assets. The credit union and Vickie are a part of numerous CUSOs in Michigan. And I know you're going to enjoy this conversation as you see firsthand Vickie's commitment to and passion for creating and enhancing a great culture for her employees at Frankenmuth Credit Union. Well, Vickie, welcome to Friday 5. I'm really looking forward to having this conversation.
I'm looking forward to it too. Thanks so much for asking.
We've known each other for a lot of years. That's a not so subtle way of saying that I'm getting old. You don't seem to be aging.
Oh,
But
yeah.
we've known each other for a lot of years, and I've observed Frankenmuth Credit Union and Vickie Schmitzer and the work you do at the chapter level and with CUSOs, and it's all very impressive, I must say. Credit Union has been high growth, and I know what a great service culture you have. So really looking forward to having a conversation.
Thank you.
We're focused this month in January. We're focused on company culture. And in leadership and management lexicon, there are a lot of buzzwords, and culture is one of those. But it's so real. I think we all know that for CEOs and senior management, one of our primary responsibilities is to figure out what that means and to foster it and to contribute to it and to be a part of it. So at Frankenmuth Credit Union, what are some of the key elements that go into creating and enhancing a great culture and climate for your employees?
We believe that culture starts at the interview. We want to make sure that we have the right person chosen. And we just realize how important it is to be all in. And Drucker says that culture has strategy for lunch. And I definitely believe in that culture.
So elaborate on that a little bit. Culture has strategy for lunch, meaning culture is just so much more important than strategy.
Right. We hire to have the culture that we want, and we can train anybody to do anything. You can't teach somebody what their mother didn't teach them. So we definitely try to hire the right person and then train them for the skill.
And I have to believe too, as you're talking, I love that quote. We tend to read and study leadership and management, and we all go to business school, but employees don't get super excited about business principles and strategy and strategic plans. What they do get excited about is the culture and the things that give them a meaningful experience. So maybe drill into that a little bit. At Frankenmuth, what are the things that you think matter most to your employees?
We truly care about them. We want them to be all in everything they do. We ask them if they are happy, and we truly want to know if they are. We care about their health. We have a gym. We have incentives that are based on what you do to take care of your health. We fundraise and make salads so that you have good things to eat. Um, we care about their training. We want them to be trained and be the best that they can be. We're a Carnegie proponent, and we have weekly little snippets that we share with staff on just being a better person and being the best that you can be.
Give
I
us,
just think
give us
it's,
just an overview of your credit union story, Frankenmuth. Like, how large is the credit union? What's the growth been like? What are the markets that you focus on? Those kinds of things.
all right. So we are approaching a billion, which that
Amazing.
wasn't in our business plan or anything else to happen for 3 years, but because of the pandemic, it's just been incredible. We have 24 branches and 4 in-school branches. We are not necessarily on every busy corner, but we are where our members are already there. So if we see a concentration of 1,000 members, then we go and look to put a branch in those communities. 3 of our branches are actually in the communities because the mayor or the council or whatever came to us and said, will you please come to our community? So it's just a little bit of a different approach, but it's really, really worked for us.
And how about the employee headcount? How many full-time employees do you have?
We have about 350 employees, and then we lease another 60 to Neighborhood Mortgage.
Wow. And the growth, you mentioned the growth here during COVID. Most financial institutions, including credit unions, have experienced robust deposit growth over the last 8 to 12 months or so. But your credit union has been pretty high growth for some time. Maybe you can speak to that a little bit, the asset growth, the membership growth. What's that been like over the last 10 years or so?
It's been over 13% for the last 8 years. And we have had 3 little mergers in our career, but I think the biggest one was maybe 30 million or whatever, and another one was 10. So hardly any of that growth has been because of merger. It's all been organic and word of mouth.
So I don't want you to have to give away all your trade secrets, but what's the secret sauce for growth for Frankenmuth?
I think it is having our employees all in. We have less than a 1% turnover, and that has been for forever. People come to work for us and they stay here. I think we really truly care about them and want them to do the right thing. We empower our employees to be able to make decisions. And when you're part of something good and you believe it in your soul and pass it on to others, it's just something that takes off like wildfire. And people, you're at work more than you are at home. So it has to be a good working environment. We have to care about each other and do the right thing. And it's enjoyable to come to work.
So yeah, describing employees being all in and the low turnover and them seeing meaning in work, that all tracks right back to this conversation we're having about fostering a great culture. So if we were to ask your employees, and I'm sure you survey them often, and if we were to ask them, what are some of the things that they most value at the credit union as an employer, what do you think they would say, or what do they say?
So we ask them that often. Every year we say, are you who you said you were when you came to the credit union? And are we who we said we were? So we check in with our employees on an annual basis with those 2 questions. And a lot of times employees will say, well, I'm just such a better person because of all the things that happen at Frankenmuth Credit Union. And they are just wowed. And I don't want to say this, that it's taken the wrong way, but we keep their quotes, and I don't have them with me right now, but we keep them because they go straight to the heart and remind us and tell us what we have to be to stay where we are. And we just appreciate those. And
That's great. And those, those expectations and testimonials are great reminders. I have to say though, Vickie, having known you for a number of years and observed you in action, whether it be in advocacy meetings or at the chapter level or with groups of CEOs, your enthusiasm is contagious. And I know when you talk about having work that is meaningful, I know that you feel that and you project it. My question is, for your leadership team, when you think of leadership development, how do you assure that at the leadership level, your team has that passion and projects that to the rest of the team?
well, we meet 2 to 3 times a month, and we want respect and trust and appreciation and empowerment. We want to assume the best in one another, and we want to make sure that we always do the right thing. And if anybody isn't doing those things, there's other people that will call them out or have a talk with them. I mean, it is just not acceptable. You have to bring your A game every single day, and that rubs off on other people. And we've been really lucky that we don't have to reprimand or go back. I don't know. It's just an expectation.
It sounds a lot like a sports team, a lot like a football team or a volleyball team, where if one or more of the players are just not towing the line or don't have the right attitude, the team calls them out. That's awesome. Well, let's talk about this COVID environment and how has that impacted either positively or negatively your staff culture?
Everybody that wants to work at home is able to work at home. We do have to keep our branches open, so that has definitely been a challenge with people being quarantined or even having COVID. First of all, we were just moving people from one branch to another to stay open, and we found out that that was a disaster because then somebody took their COVID to another place. So now they have to stay in an area or just go to 1 or 2 of the branches. And we have had to close and be open by appointment only. So, but our numbers are over last year. So there's not any member that hasn't been served. We've just been going out of our way to make the best of it.
Are there some lessons learned or some silver linings that come with this? I've heard some credit union leaders, when we talk about COVID, I've heard them refer to how in some ways we're communicating more and maybe more effectively and more regularly. We all miss the in-person interaction, but I feel like maybe there are some silver linings or some lessons learned that can help us with communication maybe. What are your thoughts on that?
We have a mantra, and that is that we are better together. So no matter what we're going through, we're better together. And if I may step off just for a second, my
Sure.
staff all handmade things for me for Christmas. Each branch did something. And I have 9 different items that are handmade that say better together. So from pillowcases to great big boards that go over to your door to the state of Michigan and how we're better together. It's what it's all about. We are better together.
That's fabulous. So better together, that's really in 2 words, your culture. And you described so many examples of how that's done, whether it's the leadership training or the surveys of staff, projecting that you care and empowering them. How does that segue to member service? Because I know you're a very service-centric credit union. How do you assure that you have the service levels that are so important for members, especially during COVID?
The service that the internal employees give to each other has to be better than the service that you give to your member. And if you're used to doing it every day with your employees, then it's just habit to do it with your members. And I kind of hate to throw this out here, but we were just recognized by Forbes, and it was for member service. And that is what it's all about. You know, people helping people, doing the best you can do. All
Yeah.
about member service.
And I think people, I've had some credit union leaders bring up the consumer satisfaction surveys and how banks have caught up to credit unions, and we're sort of lamenting that a bit or wondering if we're as good as we've always been. And I really like to think that we are as good or better than we've been as a credit union industry. It's just that all businesses understand that if they don't work on the customer experience, they're going to go out of business. And I think big banks and even regional banks and community banks are doing more to improve customer service. So maybe they're catching us because of that. But I think that this discussion about culture it's just so intertwined, making sure that you're doing the right things to have happy employees and engaged employees. That just has a natural connection. So maybe just briefly, if you could, when you think of important human resource management functions, whether it's hiring or compensation or training or orientation, what are some of the things that you think are most important right now in terms of human resource management?
So one of our successes is that we give this test to all of the people when they apply for a job. And there's no right or wrong answer. We took a dozen of our employees that we'd like to clone, and we make sure that their test results match up with the people that we'd like to clone because we want more of what we have. That has just been a very successful tool for us. And communication, you need to communicate and be transparent and train and be informed. I think those are our secrets, and they're not anything new.
Your credit is innovative. It always has been. You've always been an innovative leader. I've observed that. When you think of company culture, what are some of the innovative or disruptive things that you either have done or that you're looking to do?
So as far as innovation, we believe in change. We might try 10 different things and 5 or 6 of them might fail, but you're not remembered for those things. You're remembered for the 3 or 4 that worked. So that's one of the things that I believe in. Another thing that I'm really proud of is our foundation for our communities. We make big differences in little communities and small differences in big communities. We've given out over $2 million so far. So that I'm very proud of that. And then our employees are expected to volunteer. And you might think, oh my goodness, how do you make them volunteer? I don't know. I don't have to make them volunteer. I don't know if it's peer pressure or what, but all of them, 100% of them go out at least twice a year and volunteer. So that is a neat way that we can give back to our communities. And then the last item that is top of mind is our Hope Pocket. At our planning session, probably 15 years ago, we gave every employee $5 and we said, go out and make a difference in somebody's life. Buy a cup of coffee, do whatever, just do something with this money for somebody else. And the employees came back and said, we don't want you to give us the $5. We want to do this on our own. So our Hope Pocket is our employees helping our members. And they payroll deduct, they have an auction every year. This last auction, even in COVID, brought $23,000. And it is employees making like a jar of jam or horseradish or whatever they want to make, a quilt. And then the other employees buy those items. So it's our employees doing things for other employees. And then we have this big pot of money and we do things for our members. So if somebody passes away and can't pay for the funeral, or if somebody needs a new pair of work shoes or eyeglasses or anything that our members need that our employees hear about, they turn in an application and then our employees have actually gotten those things for our members. And that's the type of thing that just brings you all together, all in.
That's a great concept, and those are some great examples of how your employees are passionate about what they do. Well, as we wrap up here, I've observed how the credit union has grown with you, and you've grown with the credit union, and I'm sure that's true of the team members who have been with you for so long. So, as you mentor future leaders, and as you give advice to emerging leaders outside your credit union, what are some of the things that you think are going to be most important for being an effective leader of a credit union in the future, whether it pertains specifically to culture or whether it's other things?
Always do the right thing. If you do the right thing, you'll never be wrong. See the best in other people and give credit where credit is due, and just be kind. Be kind.
Those
You
are
know,
some great, yeah, those are some great pearls of wisdom.
you have no idea when somebody walks through the door what load they're carrying.
Yeah,
And just to be kind and want to help and know that you have a listening ear that really cares.
that's wonderful. You know, I have a love for music. I know not everyone likes country music, and that's not my pure genre, but there's a great country song by Tim McGraw, Always Be Humble and Kind. And such a simple concept, but for leaders, you project that, you project many amazing leadership qualities. But what you just said reminds me of that song. If leaders can be authentic, vulnerable at times, and project a caring demeanor like you just described, I think it just goes a long way. And it's easier said than done for some of us with different personality traits. Well, Vickie Schmitzer, thank you so much for sharing those perspectives, a wealth of information on company culture and fostering a great climate for our employees. But beyond that, some really sound leadership principles. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for all you do. And during COVID, you and your guitar, you pulled us through, Dave. Thanks.
Well, it's a real honor for me to be in the position that I'm in, but this industry is amazing. And just like you described at your credit union, we pull each other along, we hold each other up. And we've never been in a climate in my lifetime where that has been as important as it is now, right? Being able to hold each other up. So when we talk about culture, it's true in our leadership positions with our employees, but it's true for us as colleagues. Thank you for those kind words. And thank you for all that you do as a leader of an exemplary credit union approaching $1 billion in assets, rapid growth, providing great service for your members and the communities you serve, and for the leadership you provide at the chapter level, at the league level, with the CUSOs, and so on. It's very inspiring. Thank you, Vickie.
We are better together. You are welcome.
Well, what a great conversation with Vickie Schmitzer, CEO of Frankenmuth Credit Union. The mantra of the credit union, better together, really says it all. And as we heard from Vickie, and we heard her describe what goes into creating and fostering a great company culture, it was very evident that she and her leadership and her entire team understand the importance of caring, empowering, and projecting the meaning behind the credit union difference. Thanks to Vickie Schmitzer for sharing those great leadership insights and in helping us understand what constitutes a great credit union culture for employees. Thanks for watching Friday 5 with Dave Adams. We look forward to future episodes. If you have an interest in being on the program, please let us know.